Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and this is your one-stop shop for sports picks, politics and government chatter, and even some neighborhood restaurant reviews. Instead of going to 3 different channels, you can come here every week for the pulse on everything you need to know. And that's right, folks, this is the 2nd week in a row that we are taking the pulse on the road. And we are here at Buddy Who's Restaurant on the corner of York and Washington Street here in beautiful Paulus Hook section of downtown Jersey City. Again, joined by our resident foodie, and that's Rana of MyGoodies.com. That's M-A-I Goodies.com. How you doing today?
I'm great. I can't wait to eat. I love Buddy Who's. Definitely my go-to for pancakes.
And she's not really saying that because she lives in this vicinity. So don't worry. Am I right or wrong?
No, that's not it at all.
That's not it at all, she says. This neighborhood is a little different than what we did last week at the Cuban.
Yeah.
The Cuban, of course, is located on a busy Washington Street. This looks more homely here, correct?
Honestly, this is like one of my favorite neighborhoods, and I'm biased because I grew up here, but it's definitely complete opposite than Hoboken and Washington Street. Even though it is Washington Street too.
There you go, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want to confuse the viewers, that's why.
Right.
Well, why don't we go inside and have this fantastic food. You hungry? You ready to roll?
Ready.
Let's go. Inside Buddy Who's here in downtown Jersey City, the Paulus Hook section of downtown Jersey City on York and Washington Avenue. How's it going? A little warmer in here, correct?
Yes, very cozy. Very
Exactly,
cozy vibes.
exactly. So now, when we spoke about this a few weeks ago on the show, we discussed where the title of Buddy Who's actually came from. I was wondering if you can remind our audience.
Yes, of course. So when I was looking it up and I first got here, it's all about the 2 owners and one of his dads who was courting his mother. And when the mom, well, at the time was, just a friend, she didn't know who Buddy was, and she was like, Buddy who? And the name just kind of stuck.
And then, as he went forward trying to pursue the mother, he used to sign every single card, even when they were married for years. Buddy Who's? Am I right
yes,
or wrong?
yes.
So then, of course, the name stuck. Now, walking in here, I feel like almost like a chill type of vibe. I think that's the way you described it on the show a few weeks ago. You were saying, it's really chill. It's almost a little bit like an upscale type of diner or something like that. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. It's very like comfort food. Feels like I'm in someone's house. Very cozy, very comfortable, and it's my favorite place to eat breakfast.
Favorite place to eat breakfast, and again, not because you're from this neighborhood, correct?
No, not at all.
All right. I just have to keep throwing that out there. So, and of course, we're gonna have plenty of food to come up. Well, again, we're not drinking today just because the studio tells us we can't. But I was looking at some of the things on the drink menu here, like the mimosas, Bellini's. Anything stick out at you? Any favorites?
So I would usually do the Irish coffee with my mom. She loves Bailey's and she loves coffee. It's very strong, but still really sweet enough and goes with the meal. It's actually a really good drink before the meal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we're actually here on a Saturday afternoon, and it's like mid-afternoon, I just can't believe how crowded it is still. Is there really a good time to come here, or you're constantly going to be waiting for a table?
They serve breakfast all day, so you can get the same pancakes anytime. So I think any time of the day, probably on the weekends is probably best.
On the weekends, to get a table or to?
Well, just to eat here. To get a table, probably on the weekdays.
On the weekdays is definitely the best. And this used to be York Street Tavern, from what I remember, a place that I used to hang out a lot when I was
Same.
younger. But I tell you, they almost spruced it up a little bit. We were discussing this on the way, a new paint job and just a chill environment.
I almost don't even recognize the place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's certainly been here for years. Again, this is Buddy Who's, folks, located on the corner of York and Washington Street in the Paulus Hook section of Jersey City. Come on down and try it. We're going to try the food. Are you hungry? Are you ready to roll?
Yeah, I'm ready to order.
All right, ready to order. Oh my God, the food has arrived, and yes, a round of applause for this food. It's unbelievable. It looks absolutely fantastic. So we literally have to go through item by item by item, because every time we're in the studio, you make me drill. Every time. It's unbelievable. And now the food is here and I'm drilling even more. It's like, well, whose idea was this? Oh wait, it was my idea, right? Anyway, let's start. What do we have on this first dish? Obviously it's a burger with some fries, but it's more than that, I'm sure.
So this right here is the Buddy Who burger. It's cooked on a medium burger, right? It has some sweet chili sauce, some Gouda, some pickled onions, and some pickles. Sandwiched between this brioche, like nice little bun.
And they say the brioche bun is the bun you can kind of like see
Exactly.
yourself in, correct?
And it's beautiful.
Almost like,
Look at the
it's
presentation.
It's unbelievable,
Right?
yes.
It comes with some ketchup for your delicious garlic fries. If you're not a garlic lover, you're not going to want to eat this. But for me, this is my type of food, right? So help yourself. Let me know how it is.
Oh my God. Oh, but you don't really taste a lot of the garlic, actually.
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, it complements the fries super well. And with the burger, unbelievable.
Folks, that is a 10 out of 10. Even if you're not a garlic lover, it tastes absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So why don't we move on?
Yes.
Here, it looks like that's some sort of a chicken BLT type of sandwich.
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm ever ordering it, but what is in this sandwich here is packed with lots of chicken on a BLT with some avocado, some secret sauce there, and then your sweet potato fries on the side.
And the sweet potato fries absolutely look like they're homemade, correct?
They look delicious. I think it's the perfect baked sweet potato fry I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh. And they're so, you know, it's sometimes, and let me know if you agree with this or not, but it's sometimes very, very difficult to get a good crunch on a sweet potato fry.
I agree. And I don't, have you tried it? Let me try it.
Yeah, of course, try it,
Is it
man.
like-
Yeah, I'm doing all the eating here, and our food reviewer's not.
Oh yeah.
Right? Unbelievable.
It's not unbearably like sweet, but I think it'll go great with that chicken BLT.
And what's amazing is these buns. I mean, you were discussing these buns before, and I mean, you could just tell how fresh they are. I'm gonna be gross and trying to put my finger in it like that. Oh my God!
It's got a beautiful bounce. Probably
Exactly.
gonna hold all the flavor in there without, falling apart as you're eating it.
Yeah.
But it does have this little
Stick to
there
keep it
to keep it all together.
just in case. You always
But-
need a stick, and then you certainly need some napkins. Trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is just it looks phenomenal. Okay, I know that our wonderful camera person Greg here kind of gave a sneak peek to this following dish here, and
here.
that is I'm not even gonna begin to explain this absolute beauty of a pancake dish in front of me. But go ahead.
Honestly, this is like every Instagram foodie's dream. It's topped with fruity
great.
pebbles here, and when you compare it to the other diners in the area, this is not your traditional pancake meal. Clearly, it's got cereal. It's topped with some berry drizzle. I believe this is cream cheese with like a really, really sweet, but not too sweet since it's got a lot going on here.
So this is the best of both worlds. Folks, if you want cereal, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you want cereal, maybe I want Fruity Pebbles, maybe I want Frosted Flakes. They have certain different varieties here.
Right.
This is the best of both worlds. Maybe you want pancakes. Have
got it all
a
right
little
here.
bit of Fruity Pebble stuffed pancakes. How about that? I mean, that just, and then I'm sure you've tried other of the cereal pancakes here, correct?
We've had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is really, really delicious as well. Super sweet, but honestly, if you're a Cinnamon Toast Crunch lover, amazing.
This is amazing, absolutely amazing, folks. See, we said that we were going to come out on the streets, the mean streets. No, we're not in the mean streets. We're in beautiful downtown Jersey City, the Paul's Hook section. This is Buddy Who's restaurant on the corner of York and Washington Ave. And we got out of the studio because we just had to come out and try this food, and so do you, folks. Buddy Who's, Paul's Hook section of Jersey City. When we come back, we have Mr. Josh Sotomayor Einstein in studio for our Politics with Peter B segment. You don't want to go away. But first, you ready to dig in?
Yeah.
We're digging in,
Let's do
folks. See you soon. Welcome back to the Pulse of Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and this is our Picks with Peter B segment. Happy to be joined 2 weeks in a row and 3 out of the 4 weeks by former BUTV play-by-play commentator. That's Mr. Sean Potter. Sean, welcome back. Thank you for coming in.
It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. Great to have you. So, as we mentioned last week, spring training started last week, and we spoke about those New York Mets last week. But why don't we talk about those Bronx Bombers today? We gave a little preview to the audience. The Yankee fans are craving for more Yankee talk.
Yep.
And why don't we begin with what Yankee fans really want to know overall? Are the Yankees on par or better than the Boston Red Sox entering camp?
That's a great question, Peter, because sure, we look at last year, we look at, the record, the win-loss column in that aspect. They're pretty much were toe-in-toe. The Red Sox, inched out a couple more wins than the Yankees, and sure, that probably seems better on the record column, but I think when you put them together and you put them on the field together as we saw in the playoffs, the Red Sox were clearly the better team. And this is talking last year, but now, if you want to jump ahead to now spring training, the Yankees had some key additions in the offseason, and the Red Sox haven't really done much.
I agree.
They
very quiet.
Very quiet. I mean, a reliever, Joe Kelly, went to Los Angeles, I believe. So it's kind of people either left or they really didn't sign anybody. So now, if you want to say if they're up to par, I think so. I think they've kind of added the additions that they needed for them to be just as good as the Red Sox. I mean, sure, right, the reigning World Series champions, you know, they're going to have a lot of weight on their shoulders to continue to come back and produce. But, you know, the Yankees definitely have more weight on their shoulders.
And would you say that the Yankees are a younger team? Obviously, correct?
Yeah.
And sometimes I know youth versus experience, almost like the Super Bowl between McVay and Belichick. But you would think that the Yankees are going to take a step forward this year because of their youth.
And I think because they went to the playoffs last year, that's going to be huge because of that. Getting to that stage and that level of baseball is probably bigger for your sense of when you go back into the regular season. Sure, the AL East is going to be strong again with, you know, the Red Sox and the Yankees, and you go down. The Rays will probably be pretty good again. They'll hang around. They'll give you a tough ball game.
Right.
The Orioles toss up in the air. We don't really know what's going to happen down there because they didn't have the greatest of season last year. But we're going to see how the Yankees work out.
It should be interesting. Now, why don't we get into some position players here, right? Troy Tulowitzki. Do you believe he's actually going to be a starting shortstop for this team? And maybe even a better question is, what was that meeting with Manny Machado about?
Okay, well, we'll start with Tulo, but they brought him in, and I thought that was a crazy signing with, you know, Didi Gregorius being who was your everyday starter at shortstop, and of course he had to leave and have elbow surgery, so he's rehabbing that, and he's just going to start beginning to have a throwing program, so he still has some time to rehab, so that's going to give Tulo the opportunity to start at the beginning of the season, and he's going to be your everyday shortstop in that sense. But then question mark is what's going to happen when Didi becomes healthy again, when he's able to throw. He's going to be back up to his original self. Now you're going to want Tulo and Didi both on the infield, but now that kind of leaves Gleyber Torres hanging because he's going to be your everyday second baseman while Didi is out. So
we spoke about the Mets having a good problem. It looks like the Yankees have a good problem.
They're, you know, the Mets have the corner of the infield kind of all tossed up, but the Yankees have the middle of the infield all kind of tossed up. So we'll see what happens there.
But it's a long season with injuries. Better be safe than sorry, correct?
It becomes a depth thing. I think both New York teams did that this offseason. They kind of added quality people underneath for that replacement. The Mets didn't have that last year. They had to bring people from the AAA up. But the Yankees, you know, they kind of.
And tell me the Machado meeting.
All right, yeah. So Machado, I don't know. Jeez, what is going on with that?
I mean, are the Yankees just trying to stay relevant, which is shocking because they're always relevant, I feel.
I mean, it's the New York Yankees. Last year they were able to get Giancarlo Stanton. They can get anybody is basically what they're trying to say. And if they can land Manny Machado, they can.
For a little cheaper than he wants, right?
Right. I mean, because if you're going to want to, they want to play New York. I mean, that's kind of the aspect. If they play with the Mets or they play in pinstripes, pinstripes probably has a little bit more of, I don't know what the word is, but like that's what people want to do.
Right.
They want to play in pinstripes.
It's the pinstripes. There's not even a word. It's just pinstripes.
Exactly.
Right?
So, I mean, it's a money thing to Manny Machado, and he's not getting the money he wants, and he's being greedy. But, you know, the Yankees are going to be like, fine, you know, here's what we're going to pay you. If you don't want it, then don't take it, you know.
Why don't we talk about their bullpen order a little bit? So, is there any specific pecking order leading up to Chapman? I mean, you know, where do Chad Green and Jonathan Holder fit in the mix? And better yet, Domingo German. I mean, is he even going to be part of the bullpen as a starter? Like, give me a guess. What's their bullpen order?
Well, here, if I try to, you know, be in Aaron Boone's mind here a little bit, is who's producing? You're going to put out your 9 guys every day that is going to be producing. Who is going to be able to give you the most quality of every single start? So say, you know, Jonathan Holder, he's been lights out. You know, he struck out 8 out of 10 hitters in the past, you know, 3 innings, whatever it could be. He's going to get the ball. Same thing for Chad Green or Zach Britton or Domingo Germán or Tommy Kahnle. You keep going down the list of bullpen. It's whoever's going to be pitching the best, whoever's going to be that perfect setup man for, you know, Ottavino and then to Chapman, is going to get the ball. Whoever is going to, you know, go out there and give you the best quality inning, give you an out when you need it, give you 2 outs when you need it,
Right.
that's who Boone's going to go with.
And that's amazing. And we have a little bit more time here. So I think one of the biggest questions, obviously the biggest concern from Yankee fans is, are we as good as the Red Sox now? But one of the biggest questions for the Yankees is at first base. And it is a competition between Luke Voit and the oft-injured Craig Bird.
Yeah.
Greg Bird, I should say. But Aaron Boone and Cashman have both made it very, very clear that this is Voigt's job to lose. It really is. So do you think it's an uphill climb for Bird, who's only 26 years old? And at one point was considered one of the can't-miss prospects.
Yeah, no, he definitely came in here a couple years ago and was lights out. But then the injury-prone status that he is kind of weighed on his shoulders is being a problem because he can't continue to be on the field for 162 games.
Right.
Sure, not every player is going to play 162 games in a season, but if they can give you over 100 games in a season, that's pretty good. But I think adding the addition of Luke Voit was huge in their postseason run last year. He's going to be a huge target there at first base, but like you said, it's Luke Voigt's job to lose. So right now it's going to be him, and then if Greg Bird can maybe go out there, get a start, hit the ball pretty solid.
That'd be great.
It'll be a question mark.
Well, Yankee fans, I hope that you're excited for the season. That's Mr. Sean Fodor, our sports insider now for the last 2 weeks here on the Pulse with Peter B. Sean, thank you so much for coming in. Folks, when we come back, Mr. Josh Sotomayor Einstein will be here for our Politics with Peter B. segment. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano, and this is our Politics with Peter B. segment. Joined in studio, like we are every week, by our political analyst, Mr. Josh Sotomayor Einstein. Josh, how's it going today?
It's good. Beautiful day. No complaints.
Beautiful day is right. We're getting to the end of February here. Weather's turning. It's always a good thing, correct? Always a good thing. So, Josh, back in 2017, HUD released $230 million in funding for Rebuild by Design. This aims to protect Hoboken and parts of Weehawken and Jersey City from rising sea levels and the impact of climate change, as well as frequent flooding in the area due to storm surges, high tides, and heavy rainfall. Of course, this also comes after close to 80% of the city of Hoboken was flooded during Superstorm Sandy, when the concept was introduced. I was at a meeting where residents were up in arms about the walls being built in residential communities because they were obviously upset that their property values would go down and so on and so forth. So after many design meetings, it looks like there is a final plan to start construction on this. But residents don't really seem happy about it still because they still feel that walls are going to be in their neighborhoods. What do you think, Josh?
So I think that the entire plan is a whole lot of garbage and should be scrapped. But first, for people that don't know, HUD is Housing and Urban Development.
Correct.
It's a federal department. So this is our federal tax dollars coming in to build a $230 million
Wall.
It's not.
It's
not
more than a wall. I'm just
It's not
joking.
exactly
Right.
a wall.
Right.
It's more like barriers that in the north end of town by the Weehawken Cove, it'll seem like there's just a really weird hill that'll have some like playground type stuff and a dog run, and there's different proposals. And I'm sure once it's built, it'll be a fun community space. So on that side, that's a positive. But the events that happened during Hurricane Sandy, which were scary as all heck. And I was living across the street from new construction, and it looked like there was a waterfall, right near where the Rite Aid is, the new building where Trader Joe's is. They were dug down for their parking, so there was a beautiful waterfall that was scary as it can be. But most storm, first of all, the type of storm that we had is basically a once in 500 years. It's
Right.
like there's a less than 1% chance every storm season that this is going to happen. It's the only time it ever happens in recorded human history. So we're spending $230 million of our tax dollars to prevent a hurricane that raises the Hudson River over the sea level and into Hoboken.
Interesting.
When it's much more likely that if we do get another hurricane in the future, it's going to do what most hurricanes do and drop a ton of water from the sky. In which case Hoboken will still be flooded because some of the fundamental problems of Hoboken and settlement in Hoboken is that most of Hoboken was actually a swamp before it was used
Correct.
as landfill, before they filled it in with landfill. And unlike in today's practices, where they made sure that the landfill went up to the sea level at least before building on top of it. When they started developing Hoboken, they did not do that. So that's why we have the perennial problems with the flooding, especially on the west side, and that's why Hoboken was flooded for so long. But spending $230 million of our tax dollars to essentially what amounts to a hill, in the north side of town with some park-type elements, and possibly a wall on the south side of town adjacent to NJ Transit, but that itself will end up in litigation because they want to develop that property for residential and commercial space. It seems like a ginormous waste of our tax dollars when the likelihood of that type of storm happening again is exceptionally low. It's more like you have a greater chance of getting hit by lightning than that type of storm happening again.
And what's interesting is the funding that the city received, the $230 million, it might be enough to actually build the wall or whatever type of concept that they're building.
But it's not.
But it's not enough
the
to
yearly maintenance.
And so is the city in over its head with this because it's not going to cover the maintenance?
The city will do what the city unfortunately often does. They'll pass the buck, and they'll pass a hidden tax, and they'll bond, or they'll just directly tax. And the only issue is with the bond. The only difference really is with the bond. Taxes will have to be raised down the line, and lots of people in City Hall right now, and going back a number of years, really enjoy kicking the can down the road by bonding on everything, and then saying, "Look, we didn't raise taxes. They're just going to balloon in 5 to 10 years, but we didn't raise them now."
Right.
And that's problematic. It's not a good way to govern, and governing for the less than 1% chance every year. Engaging in fear-mongering and scare tactics with a little cherry on top known as, oh, this horrible thing's going to happen again. We need to do this, and there's the cherry is the dog run or the little park.
Interesting.
It's not worth $230 million.
So now the completion date for the project has to be by 2022. That's a short 3 years away, or else Hoboken loses the funding. Do you think the city has enough time?
I don't think so. I
You
mean,
don't?
just look at the way Washington Street has drawn out.
Very good point. Very good
All
point.
they really needed to do was pave the darn road, and instead, it's like the never-ending story.
So all these community meetings, all of these planners that they brought in, that I'm sure they paid not with the grant money. I mean, it just might all go away then, correct? It just might be a complete waste of money because we probably don't have enough time to build in 3 years.
I mean, to those...
Can they apply for extension? Do you know?
I do not know. I sincerely doubt it in this political climate. But to those contractors that were sucking on the federal teat that is the Rebuild by Design plan, it's not a waste of money. But if you pay taxes, and if you live in the state of New Jersey, if you live in Hoboken, it's a waste of money.
Unbelievable. So Josh, something like Rebuild by Design has not been proven anywhere else in the world. It's almost like Hoboken is going to be a guinea pig for this project. But the city is basically saying, look, it's better safe than sorry. Do you agree?
No, not at all. Because it's not safe. It's stupid. If you're
Tell me how you really feel, Josh.
if you're planning to fight a storm that happened once in recorded history, and you're throwing $230 million at it because it happened once in the history of human settlements of Hoboken, going back. I mean, Hoboken was part of New Amsterdam when before the English were here, when the Dutch was here. So, we're going back a couple hundred years, and it happened once, and now you want to spend almost $250 million? Right. This is what happens when government is run by people that see tax dollars as a piggy bank. And don't have to pay for anything themselves, including the consequences of their actions.
Unbelievable. Well, folks, as you can see, there's always something going on here in Hoboken, whether it's Union Dry Dock, the Monarch Towers, the Rebuild by Design. Well, and Josh Sotomayor Einstein will be here to cover it as much as possible. Josh, thank you for joining us today. This is our Politics with Peter B. Insider. And folks, join us next week as we have more polls for you. But before we go, I want to remind you to go on our Facebook page, like it, follow us, ask us questions. We like hearing from you. And we will see you next week here on the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Have a great week, everybody.